CEL, Communications and Entertainment Limited.
In 1888, Australia was 100 years young, a nation of only 3 million, and yet such was the energy and enterprise of this emerging country on the Pacific Rim that some 2 million visitors were attracted to its first exposition, held in magnificent buildings that still stand in the city of Melbourne. The Melbourne Exposition continued a tradition born at the London Exposition 37 years earlier. A tradition that has provided a forum in which the people of the world may gather to display their achievements and to find a greater understanding of one another. After 21 expositions, and for the first time in the 20th century, the international community turned again to the Southern Hemisphere, and in the year of its Bi-Centenary, Australia became the host for World Expo 88. The celebration of Australia's Bi-Centenary added an emotional appeal to the country's application for World Expo 88. But apart from that, there were some very convincing reasons behind the selection of Brisbane as the host city. As the capital of Queensland, Australia's second largest state, Brisbane is the gateway to some of the country's most spectacular holiday destinations. From magnificent tropical rainforests through the wonders of the Great Barrier Reef and its jewel-like islands to the rugged outback, Queensland is a place of breathtaking natural beauty. As a premier tourist playground, its facilities are well developed, and locations such as the Gold Coast have won international fame. But Brisbane is a great city in its own right. It's progressive, modern, and exciting. You look around and things always seem to be on the move. Development and growth happen at an impressive rate, and many major transnational companies are established here. Yet there is another aspect of Brisbane that makes it unique. It has a warm, easygoing ambiance. Partly it's a matter of climate. After all, Queensland is also known as the Sunshine State. The long sunny days, the space, the greenery, and the proximity to the sea seem to promote a natural love of outdoor life. Consequently, the lifestyle is casual and relaxed. The 1 million people of Brisbane, like Queenslanders in general, are known for their hospitality and friendliness. It's a cosmopolitan city, and it's no accident that regardless of where they come from, visitors feel at home here. In the words of Madame Marie-Helene Dufresne, Secretary General of the Bureau of International Expositions, we went to Brisbane and saw that it was a good city. It had space, goodwill, and the people wanted Expo 88. So we decided to accept Brisbane's application because it had everything necessary for a successful exposition. So in December 1983, the decision was made, and for Brisbane, the dream was about to take shape. The site chosen for World Expo 88 was unique. 40 hectares of prime real estate occupying the south bank of the Brisbane River and within a pleasant stroll of the city's central business district, its restaurants, shops, hotels, and transport. Not only would World Expo 88 be played out against the spectacular backdrop of a glittering, dynamic city and its broad, winding river, but it would offer the ultimate in convenient accessibility to its projected 8 million visitors. The theme of World Expo 88, Leisure in the Age of Technology, together with Brisbane's subtropical lifestyle and environment, served as an inspiration for what would become the most dominant visual element of the Expo site. A series of 8 canopies, or sun sails as they were dubbed, were raised to shade over 30,000 square meters of the site. Soaring up to 50 meters above the pavilions and plazas, they symbolize the carefree, festive atmosphere of the event and its host city. The busy construction activity on site presented people with the daily evidence of Expo's growing reality. And though the pace became hectic, as the time for opening loomed large, a certain air of celebration emerged. And for those who visited Expo in the last weeks before its birth, the presence of a multinational workforce striving to achieve a common goal gave an emotive taste of what was to come. Finally, with the finishing touches in place, the moment of truth arrived. April 30th, 1988, opening day for World Expo 88. Appropriately, the opening day celebrations began in Brisbane's King George Square. The open spaces of this public plaza that stands before Brisbane's imposing old City Hall are a traditional gathering place for the people of the city. On this day, the festivities precede an event that has been years in the making. As the magic hour of the official opening approaches, a colourful multitude begins to assemble in the square. National flags flutter in the bright April sunshine. The costumes of various ethnic groups add a dash of colour. The sense of anticipation becomes electric. Then the bands strike up, and the parade struts and dances through the streets of Brisbane, eventually to cross the graceful arch of the Victoria Bridge over the river to the very gates of World Expo 88. Once again, the tension begins to build. The atmosphere of excitement is now so tangible, you feel you could reach out and touch it. Yet it's beyond description, as if the moment has assumed a life and identity of its own. It stands poised, ready to infuse the waiting expo site with its irresistible energy. The only restraint, a slender, symbolic ribbon.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a big countdown from 10? Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
It seems impossible that any more emotion could be wrung out of this day. And yet, the essence of World Expo 88 is surprise upon surprise. The occasion for ceremony, dignity and tradition is heralded by the arrival of their Royal Highnesses, Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. they will not be the only royalty, dignitaries or heads of state to visit World Expo 88. But for Australians in their Bi-Centenary year, this royal presence is a powerful reminder of the origins of nationhood.
Près d'un siècle s'est écoulé et l'Australie renoue avec la grande tradition des expositions internationales. Elle appelle le monde entier à présenter ce que chacun fait de mieux pour enrichir le dernier domaine conquis par l'homme, les loisirs.
Almost a century has passed, and Australia is continuing the great tradition of international expositions. The entire world is invited to present its best inventions in this newly conquered field of leisure.
It gives me great pleasure to be here in Brisbane and to open a major international exhibition and a highlight of Australia's bicentennial calendar. I congratulate those who had the vision to conceive this second World Exposition in Australia, and those whose dedication and talent went into its organization, planning, and setting up. I now declare World Expo 88 well and truly open.
Eventually, a very full day draws to an end. But for Expo, it's just a change of face. The bright sunshine gives way to the bright lights as the Expo site is transformed into a neon fantasy. Across the river, Brisbane City switches on, and the dark ribbon of water between the two worlds becomes a linking thread of shimmering reflections. What night of nights would be complete without fireworks? Expo answers with a blaze of fire in the sky. High-tech meets ancient alchemy as lasers and fireworks blend in a show that almost overwhelms the senses. Even this night must end. But World Expo 88 is more than can be contained in a single day and night. The genius, the magic will flow for 6 months of days and nights. There can be no such thing as a visit to Expo. There can only be a journey into worlds within a world. Australia's Bi-Centenary marks 200 years of European settlement, but the Aboriginal people who roamed this wide land have a cultural history that reaches back some 40,000 years into the mystical realms of the dream time. The legend of the rainbow serpent is one of the most profound creation epics, and its essence is recreated in a $7 million presentation within the Australian Pavilion.
With anger and grief for what we are doing to this earth. But here now, you fellas, you come sit down by my fire, warm yourselves. I will tell you the story of how this world began. And when the wild hop trees bloom, that's his way to tell us the oysters are fat on the shores of our great sea spirit, Quandamuka. Grow strong, Kabul. Come back to your children, the mountains, the trees, and our Father, the sky. Come bring us your birds of many colors. Come back to your rivers, rushing to Quandamuka. Come back to your teeming fish of 1,000 colors and shapes.
Australia is a country that lends itself naturally to the pursuit of leisure. And this, together with the Australians' well-developed streak of individualism, has given rise to some highly imaginative forms of sport and recreation. So varied and rich is the Australian lifestyle that perhaps only something as sophisticated as the rainbow sphere could convey an impression of what it's all about. The voyages of Captain James Cook hold a special significance for Australians, but beyond his legendary charting of Australia's east coast, he was a seaman and an explorer whose reputation knew no bounds. The National Maritime Museum in Greenwich, London, created an exhibit dedicated to the man and his achievements, in which many of the items had never before been seen outside Britain. From the rare vellum charts and early globes that depicted the world before Cook, through the array of instruments actually used by him, to the superb hand-drawn charts that made his reputation, this is a fitting tribute to Captain James Cook, the greatest explorer of the South Pacific, a man of courage and determination, who added to the priceless store of human knowledge in a growing world. China. The very name has excited the imagination of mankind as long as history is recorded. A nation long perceived as a treasure house of art, civilization, and wisdom. For centuries, a land of exotic mystery. At World Expo 88, the People's Republic of China honored guests with a rare insight into their nation from ancient to modern times. The China Pavilion, like the country itself, offers startling contrast. The imposing presence of terracotta warriors unearthed near the tomb of the Emperor Qin Shi Huang. The delicate artistry of works of jade, cloisonne and embroidery, a visual feast to touch the soul. Italy Pavilion, there are no dividing lines between past, present, and future. High tech blends easily with classic art and the directions of tomorrow. Da Vinci rubs shoulders with Ducati, Ferrari, and Fiat, names synonymous with Italian excellence in design, art, and innovation. The emotional links between Australia and Greece are strong. The Greek community within Australia is the next largest in the world outside the old country. But Greek culture is a gift to all of mankind. A trip into the Greece Pavilion is an odyssey into the history of the Aegean, its myths and arts. There is no gleaming hardware of technology, no computerized wonders, but instead there's the fire and passion of the Greek spirit, the supreme dignity of an ageless culture, and the pure liberated joy of Greek life. Music pervades the pavilion. It escapes outside and draws people together. And for those who sample the delights of the taverna, all senses are satisfied. Think of the word leisure, and images of sport almost always spring to mind. America, perhaps more than any other nation, has created a successful marriage between sport and science, which, as it happens, is the theme of their pavilion. It's a theme that touches most Americans from early childhood. And the US Pavilion carries us through those years into adulthood, with sights and sounds to which we can all relate. Through the areas devoted to sports medicine, we begin to understand the impact that technology has made on sport over the decades, and in the exercise and fitness area, how it has reached into our daily lives. The US Pavilion is a real hands-on experience. You can see how your pitching arm measures up against the real pros. Try a drive down the fairway. Or if it's all a bit too much, just settle back and learn how the age of technology can help you relax. In Japan, leisure can take on the aspect of art or science, an harmonious blending of tradition and technology. Outside the Japan Pavilion is the serene, timeless beauty of the traditional Japanese garden. Inside, we step backwards and forwards in time. The scene is set by a pair of industrial robots, their capacity for performing the most delicate of precision tasks now choreographed into the movements of the traditional shishimai. A detailed model of a typical Japanese city of 200 years ago is enhanced by audio-visual projection to give us an insight into how people of that era enjoyed their leisure.
This is the get-up we wear on the pilgrimage, kekko, chaha, and these rice-full sandals are waraji. This is the yatate, and it's got ink and a brush in it.
Throughout the Japan Pavilion, the images are as varied as the country itself, a constant interplay of the old and the new. Appropriately, the final message is a futuristic presentation of the age-old virtues of peace and happiness. In Japan's Technoplaza, the future has already arrived. Here is the domain of computers, lasers, videos, and robots. An enchanted forest full of computerized animals, mazes, light and sound shows, computer games, and a look at the traditions, festivals, and leisure activities of Japan using state-of-the-art technology. Although many exhibitors at World Expo '88 have brilliantly recreated the past through modern technology, Still, nothing impresses quite as much as priceless fragments of our history laid before us. The Magna Carta is an ancient document that represents the foundation of civil rights in the Western world. In 1215 at Runnymede, King John of England met with his barons and clergy to negotiate the terms and conditions of the Great Charter, which, amongst other things, provided for an individual's right to a fair hearing before his peers before he or she could be imprisoned. Signed copies of the Magna Carta were distributed throughout the kingdom. Today, only 4 remain. The copy displayed at Expo, known as the Lincoln Exemplar, is the only copy of the Magna Carta ever to receive an export license, and so it continues to make history as part of the magic of World Expo 88. Finally, in the cathedral-like surroundings of the Magna Carta Pavilion, we see the gentle images of the country in which history was made. When not busy making history, the people of the United Kingdom really knew how to enjoy themselves, and the traditional British pub at Expo captured the spirit. In the pavilion itself, the theme focuses on British technical innovation in leisure. And through the medium of audio-visual, we view the diversity of Britain's leisure pursuits, from sport to culture and entertainment. In the exhibition hall is the best of British sport and leisure products. And for the thrill seekers, a simulator ride that puts them in the driver's seat. (1988) marks a year of special significance for the Republic of Korea, as its capital city, Seoul, hosts the Olympic Games. Naturally, a significant part of the Korea Pavilion is devoted to the Games, with the replica of the main Seoul Olympic Stadium acting as the focal point. The Republic of Korea is also a nation on the move, and within the prosperity zone of the pavilion are seen the examples of the country's advancing technological capabilities in areas such as automobiles, electronics, and sports equipment. Culture Zone concentrates on Korea's traditional leisure activities and features exquisite examples of artistic achievement. But it's the stunning performances of Korean music and dance that win the audiences. The rich tapestry of Malaysian society is woven from its four main ethnic groups. The Malaysia Pavilion echoes this with four individual sections that depict the lifestyles, customs and cultures of Malays, Chinese, Indians and people of Sabah Sarawak. Perhaps there could be no more appropriate theme than Malaysia, as old as time, as new as tomorrow. From the steamy exotic tropics to the snow-capped mountains of Switzerland is only a short stroll at World Expo 88, but it's really a world apart. Outside the Switzerland Pavilion, the warm Queensland sun shines down, but inside, it's down to snow business. New Zealand's most visible contribution to the Expo environment is a rainforest walk of giant kauri trees and cascading waterfalls. Its cool, leafy atmosphere, echoing with birdsong, creates a welcome oasis for Expo visitors. Beyond the waterfalls and forests of New Zealand lies the South Pacific, and at World Expo 88, it's the same story. The South Pacific village clusters around the shores of a sparkling lagoon, its thatched bures and fallows shaded by tropical palm trees and nestled in groves of ferns. The lure of the Pacific seems just as strong now as when it called to Gauguin or Michener. Seven island nations are represented: Fiji, Vanuatu, Tonga, Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Islands, Western Samoa, and the Cook Islands. Together they bring a dream of far-flung coral atolls in an endless blue ocean, a whisper of trade winds and the perfume of frangipani. Not surprisingly, visitors to Expo are drawn irresistibly to the South Pacific village. The world's most surprising island, crossroads of the East. These are some of the phrases that have sought to describe Singapore. But perhaps Singapore defies description. Its pavilion reflects the complexity of its multicultural heritage, now interwoven with its energy and progressiveness. Never before has the Vatican participated in a World Exposition. Thus, never before has the world seen such an array of precious artifacts as that displayed in the Pavilion of the Holy See. Mosaics, manuscripts, sculptures, paintings, a cast of Michelangelo's famous Pieta, a terracotta model of the old St. Peter's Basilica, chalices, crucifixes, and other religious objects, 300 pieces from 69 collections, the treasures of a faith that has lent its strength to millions from the 1st century AD. Leisure is harmonious interrelationship between man, society, and nature. The theme of the USSR Pavilion is more akin to a philosophy, an expression of the Russian outlook on life. The USSR Pavilion reveals the complexity of a society rich in artistic and religious traditions that has won international recognition for its achievements in science and technology. This is perhaps one of the most comprehensive pavilions at World Expo 88. Its displays cover everything from the personal leisure arts of eminent scientists to magnificent religious objects. To futuristic presentations of human health. And revolutionary medical techniques. A surprising touch, the height of contemporary fashion in the USSR.
We're gonna show the world. Together we'll show the world. We're gonna show the world. Together we'll show the world. We're gonna show the world. We love you, Expo us, and we're glad that friends because together we'll show the world.
The catch cry of Queensland's promotion of World Expo 88 has been, "Together, we'll show the world." Not least of all, it managed to show the world the incredible expanse and diversity of the host state in a spectacular 10-minute ride through 8 different theatres.
Leisure coupled with advanced technology will offer a highway to space to worlds unimagined. But before we leave our planet, there is one very special leisure paradise on Earth you must not miss. So let us take you there now via our transporter tunnel.
Transport malfunction.
Welcome to the Great Barrier Reef, one of the wonders of...
Oh, mate, look what the cat dragged in. You people aren't planning on turning Queensland's rainforest into a tourist trap, are you? Ah, you can't do that in Queensland. We have a national park system and naturalists who look after us. We just screech and they come. Show 'em, mate. Good show, mate. You see him yet? Nah. He's still in shock from the tinny he found on the trail this morning.
Pull up a stump and join me in a coldie. I've been flat out all day shearing on one of the biggest stations in Australia.
Call that yakka. I've mustered more head of cattle a day than what you've had on dinner.
The United Nations is possibly the single greatest reminder of our common destiny. Its theme for Expo 88, So That Children Can Play, is a thoughtful and sensitive statement to us all. From the giant mural designed by Australia's Ken Doan, through the World Watch 2020 presentation, to the inspirational journey through Earth in Island in Space, the theme is repeated. The United Nations touches the lives of every person because we are, in fact, the United Nations. In many ways, this could be regarded as the sentiment that lies at the heart of World Expo 88. The theme of World Expo 88 is apt. Leisure in the age of technology. On one hand, Expo is a child of technology. From the computerized electronic wizardry so commonly used, to the sophisticated communications that send the pictures and sounds of a moment in history across the world. But leisure is very much a human affair. It's a common bond between people everywhere, regardless of race, color, or creed. And it's the people element that breathes real spirit and life into events such as a World Exposition. At World Expo 88, for 6 memorable months, the spirit of celebration and human cooperation blossoms. Perhaps just as this video cassette preserves an electronic record of the event, we can preserve a measure of the Expo spirit beyond when the gates eventually close.
It will only happen once in your lifetime. The world and its nations, achievements, sensations. It's gonna be great and I just can't wait. It's gonna be great and I just can't wait. We'll show the world and all its glory. Let's all join together. Our moment now has come. Let's view the golden future. Australian sons have won. Let's show them all what outstretched arms of welcome can be worth, and welcome all.